Hi everyone. Well, as many of you know, and as we've already mentioned in a previous video update, it does look like turning much colder, and it's really started happening now, so it's quite chilly at the moment. Through the rest of this week, at least the first half of this week, it will be quite cold, with these biting easterly winds or northeasterly winds. But as we move towards the end of the week, it turns a lot colder. But of course, you've probably seen the major hype about this severe cold and various things like that in the media and online. And to be totally honest, it really doesn't look as severe as what they're saying. Although it certainly will be turning colder and rather wintry for a while. But of course, we'll get more, give you more on that in just a moment. So we're going to start off here, as we always do, with the synoptic chart, and we've got the temperatures overlaid here, so you can see how that will impact things over the coming days. And the winds at the moment on this are following these isobars here, so coming in from the east to northeast. And this is an area of high pressure up here, areas of low pressure down here. So as we can run through, and this is the French model, so the model that we most often use in one of our preferred computer models. As you can see, as we run through, these winds, instead of staying in the east, start to come from the north. But we've got this little area of low pressure here, and this little area of low pressure out here, starting to work its way westwards. Now, this is where things start to get a bit complicated, because we've got this area of low pressure here coming down from Scandinavia and gradually moving its way down here towards the UK. And we've also got this little area of low pressure down here towards France and in Spain, and southern France and Spain. It's coming off the Atlantic, and that one's moving eastwards. Now, the strength of this is quite important. If it's anything like what this model is showing, it will stay cold possibly up until Monday or Tuesday of the following week, of next week, or should I say about 8 to 10 days away. But if this low pressure here isn't that strong, this low pressure here will take control and will set up somewhere in this area here. Whereas if this low pressure area is reasonably strong, it's almost like you can imagine it like a gravitational effect. That's not really what it is as such, but it appears to be that kind of movement, as it will pull this area of low pressure in towards it. So with that happens, then the cold stays with us. So like I said, the French model that we use makes this area of low pressure weaken, and this one stays about the same really. So as we run through it, you can see these blues right across the UK and down south here, and at this point the low pressure out here has faded, this one's weakened, and then we start to see this one winding up here in the Atlantic, which will most likely move up across the UK, the southern half of the UK, probably by Monday or Tuesday of next week. But it's difficult to say for certain at the moment, because this model doesn't go out that far. So now we're going to compare that to the European model. So we see much the same thing to start us off here. As we run through, we get this little area of low pressure come down from Scandinavia area. Now it's a little bit stronger in this run, a little bit more powerful, and the low pressure that's down towards Spain is actually not that strong. It's quite weak. So because this is a lot weaker, what we find is this area of low pressure actually moves further out towards the Atlantic, or at least stalls near the UK, because there's nothing to really pull it closer in towards us. Although you can see in southern England here in our area, these blue colours showing some very cold temperatures. Now this model goes out a little bit further than the French model, and you can see what happens here. An area of high pressure starts to form down here towards Central Europe, and things change. The winds suddenly switch round into the southwest, and by really Tuesday and Wednesday in about 8, 10, 11 days time, it becomes very mild indeed, with some really warm air pushing up from the south and southwest. So a very different outlook on this model. So let's compare this with the global forecasting system, the GFS model, and of course it's another one that we use, but it's been a little less reliable lately, but it's still been showing some interesting things. So it does much the same with these areas of low pressure moving through. This little area of low pressure, as we come in towards Wednesday, moves down from Scandinavia. Now the difference we have here, it's a little bit stronger on this occasion, but what we see happen is that the low over France and Spain and going towards the Mediterranean stays about the same. It weakens a touch, but then stays about the same, whereas the low up here actually weakens. So they start to become a little bit more attracted towards each other. And as you can see that happening here, the low here starts to move up this way up towards the northeast, and this one starts to kind of move down and round it. But then after this, which you can't see, it doesn't actually go this far, what we actually see is this little low pressure coming in here, which dives down to the south and actually prolongs the cold. So it would be at least a 2-week cold spell if the GFS computer model is correct. But anyway, that's a lot of rambling, and I hope you got all that. But anyway, let's get on to the actual main part of the forecast of what's coming up this week. So tomorrow we've got a very cloudy day across the island. There could be the odd little spot of rain here and there, the odd shower, but nothing too spectacular really. But it will be a rather overcast, at least overcast through the morning, and that will be in a moderate north to northeasterly breeze. Then as we move into the afternoon, nothing much changes really. It stays mostly cloudy. We could see the odd brighter spell here and there, but much stays the same. It'll be mostly cloudy, moderate north to northeasterly breeze, and temperatures really 6 to 7 degrees Celsius, a bit closer to 8 perhaps in the more eastern northeastern parts here. Then as we move into Tuesday, not much changes really at this point. It looks like it's going to be rather cloudy. It doesn't look terrible day, it's not going to be raining all day or anything like that. But it is a cloudy grey start, or mostly grey start, with a moderate to fresh north to northeasterly, or really northeasterly breeze by this point. As we go into the afternoon, we start to see some brighter spells developing, some sunshine here and there. And the temperature will be rising to around 7, maybe 8 degrees Celsius, so not desperately far off the seasonal average, perhaps just fractionally below. But yeah, it's not a terrible day really, but it will be feeling rather chilly in the moderate to fresh breeze. Then as we move into Wednesday, it's a day of cloud but occasional sunshine, more sunshine during the afternoon than in the morning, and the temperature's coming down a bit, so we're going to be looking at 3 to 4 degrees Celsius, perhaps a little bit higher up here on Windward Coast, but 3 to 4 degrees Celsius in a moderate north to northeasterly breeze. Then as we move into Thursday, the winds drop off a little bit more and we start to see a lot more in the way of sunshine. Now by this point the air is going to be very dry indeed, and with these winds that are going to be a lot lighter, we're going to start to see some quite hard frost developing, with temperatures -4, maybe even -5 degrees Celsius in a few places overnight. So there's going to be some hard frost, but during the day, during Thursday, it doesn't look too bad a day, with fairly lightish winds and temperatures, 3 to 4 degrees in cloud and occasional sunny spells. By Friday, the temperature drops even further. Now this is where it starts to get a little bit uncertain, with the models starting to diverge in different directions. But at the moment, it would seem that Friday is going to be a cold day, temperatures hovering close to freezing or just above. So we're going to be looking at 0 to 1 degrees Celsius in some inland parts of the south here, possibly up to 2 degrees in around Windward Coast here. And that being a moderate north to northeasterly breeze. But we're going to also see some sunny spells across the island, but the odd light snow flurry is possible here and there. It's not going to amount to anything, but it could be just the odd light snow flurry in 1 or 2 places. So there we are really. It's looking quite complicated. Later later on next week. Beginning of the week is quite a simple forecast, quite a lot of cloud around at first, becoming brighter but colder as the week goes on really. Perhaps the odd snow flurry towards the end of the week, fairly breezy at first but a little less so later, with some quite hard frost developing. And as always, we will give you more on this as the days go by, and of course as the frosty weather starts to develop, we'll of course give you some high resolution temperature data of how cold it's going to be with our frost alerts, and of course we'll give you another update on the potential colder weather, probably on Wednesday we think, a video forecast that is, to let you know what the outcome of the models have been showing, and to see if things are looking any different than what they are now. Anyway, that's all for now. Goodbye.